welcome back again everyone. Another episode of Triggers Broom. Now if you'll remember last time we were doing the little mounts for the switches on the handlebars. I've done the other one, I finished that, I've got them mounted in place, just temporary. What we're going to do today is have a look at doing some of the cables. I'm starting off with the brake cable because it's the Artwood one. It's got a threaded end on the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to cut this end rather than the bottom end. Now there's a little hole in here, and what I've done there is I've just marked, I put a little bit of tip extra of a hole onto the cable, so I've got a mark, and that's where the outer cable retainer goes. So that's where I'm going to have to cut the outer cable. So that's going to be the first job, cutting the outer cable. I'll just bring it in and you can have a look at the switches and see everything. So there's the outer cable. See that's why I've got to shorten the other end rather than this. It's easy to put a nipple on, can't put one of these back on. I've got just enough cable here so as it turns left and right, it's not pulling the cable and there's not too much hanging out when you turn the other way. And if you look around this side, I've put one of the handlebar grips on and the brass ferrule on the end, ready for the lever to go in. And there's one of the switches there, you can see, and the other one over here. So I think it's going to be left indicator and horn, and on this side right indicator and dip and high beam. And you can see there I've just put a little bit of Tip-X through there, got it onto the cable, and the cable's hanging up the side there. So anyway, we'll get them off and then we'll start shortening the outer cable to start off with. Right, so I've taken the brake cable out. See, there's me white dot, that's where I'm going to have to cut it. Now because we're shortening the inner and outer, I'm going to cut the outer off and pull it out first, so that we don't end up damaging any of the strands in here. So I'll just see if I can slice through it first, the end. And the cable out the way, I need to cut this one here, so again let's use the angle grinder. Let's see, that's where the bolt hole was, where I cut it, so really I want to be a little bit further down, about a centimetre. Right, so what I've done is I've took out the plastic liner and I've cut round for this ferrule to go on. Cut round the outer. They're a little bit small to fit over the top, and I thought, well, it's inside the handlebars anyhow, so it's not too important. So I'll just file it a little bit just to make sure there's no sharp edges on. And to get inside, you use a countersink bit or a drill. Just there's a needle file in there. Just to take off any loose spurs that might be there off the grinder. Right, so we've got the liner, put that in. And then the ferrule. Where did I put the ferrule? It's gone. Well, there's the ferrule on. What I'll do is I'll just put a little punch mark on just to hold it in place so it doesn't fall off. the other side, but it seems to have it okay. Just ever so gentle, just enough to nip it. That's it. Right, so we'll get back on the bike then. Right, so I've connected the cable back in again and sticking it at the end here. And I'm just going to mark the end of the handlebars so I get an idea of how much to cut off. And just in case my mark gets wiped off, I'm going to measure to the end of the cable from the handlebar. So it's 302 millimeters. So we'll get it on the bench and I'll see how far extra I've got to cut off to leave, just leaving enough room on for the nipple. Right, now luckily my little mark that I put on the cable is still there. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know if you can see the lever here, when it's right up, try and put a mark right at the bottom of that, where this fork's going to pull on the nipple when we put the nipple on. Right. So if I can get that. Right, so that's where we need the nipple to be. Now that's the bottom of the nipple. And I did want something like this, but that's only a steel one. Came in a cable kit which I got sometime. So I want that to go down to there. I don't want to have to cut this off, but I'm going to have to make a one out of brass. I've got a bit of brass rod here, but the same diameter, so that we can solder it onto there. So I've got this. I'm going to have to drill it, and then we'll cut a length and get it soldered onto here. Now what I'm going to do is drill another hole, so I'm going to counterbore it, because just like this has got an extra bigger hole in, so that when I solder it I can spread out the strands of the wire. I don't think I need it quite as big as this one. Should do it. So I've got the nipple made, and as you can see I did counterbore it so that when I put the cable through we can open it out when we solder it, so there's less chance of it pulling through. So I'll just slide the nipple onto there. Now the nipple is going to go down to that mark which I said I put, but we need to cut it at the top end of the nipple. So put a mark there, and then we'll just try cutting that off. Still got the cable through the handlebars, because it's a bit of a faff on to get it in and out all the time. Now, as I said, the top end of the cable needs to be splayed out a little bit. Lost the nipple again. Tell you what, I'm going to put a piece of tape around that so it doesn't keep falling down. Probably set a light to the tape when I go to solder it. I'll tell you what, I've got a piece of wire around it so that it doesn't. Doesn't fall down. Right, now I need to try to open these strands out on the cable. Try to nip it where the bottom of the nipple's going, and and then it'll help prevent the strands all opening up when I don't want them to. Right, I've got an old container. I'll put a little bit of just methylated spirits into it. I know a lot of people nowadays seem to be using brake cleaner and carb cleaner all the time, but meths or cellulose thinners. I'm just going to try to wash the end of the cable to try to remove any grease that might be on it, because the solder's not going to stick to it very well if it's covered in grease. Now, the only thing to remember is when you get the blowtorch out, you've got to make sure that you put the meths out the way, otherwise you're going to end up with no eyebrows. Right, next thing, using this fluxite paste, just dip the end in there, plenty on, and pour a little bit inside of the nipple. Let's see if I can get the nipple up a little bit, get the strands in. Right, now I'm holding the cable right next to the vise so that when I heat it up, the heat won't travel down the cable and we'll have less solder travelling down the cable. Right, I'll just get rid of the meths. Right, so here we go, we'll give it a try. So we've got the nipple on there. I've had to put a couple of flats on either side because the part of the brake lever, it's got a hole run through there which the nipple's got to feed through, and the brass was a little bit too big diameter which I've used, but filed it down a little bit, it's fitting through there now. So I think what I'm going to do now is put the cable through for the switches and get that all finished. Right, so got everything done. There's the bracket on for the mirror, the rear view mirror. We've got the levers all working, the twist grips working now. Cables are ready for when I solder on the switch. We may do that later. So the other two cables out for the throttle and the brake, and that's that wire. I think what I'll do now is put the clutch cable in and the wire for that side. This bag here, just like a sandwich bag, just to keep the handlebar grips clean so I don't get them all oily. Right, so it's coming along, got all the levers and cables in. One hanging down here, ready to go on the bike. One thing though, what I'm going to do is just solder these wires onto the switches now. I might as well while it's on the bench, and then I don't have to do it later when it's on the bike. Right, so I'm just going to try soldering these switches on now. Right, so got everything done there. Both the switches are on and wired in, they're working okay. Levers, everything done, so that's ready to go straight onto the yoke. So there's the top yoke there, and because the cables have got to go through these holes and it's a bit of a faff on putting them in and out all the time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that for now, and I'm going to tidy this up by cutting these little bosses off here off the front and try and tidy it up a little bit. So the yokes, I'm going to take them now across onto the bandsaw, and I'm just going to cut these two off in a straight line to start off with. Right, so I've cut those two off. So what I'm going to do now, because they're not exactly straight, I'm going to try sanding this down, try and get that edge there totally straight there and there, and then where these are standing up from about there, just the top of this web here, I'm going to slope that back till it blends in with this here on both of them. Right, I've got them two nice and straight. Now what I need to do is try to get these and slope them back so that they blend in with this. Right, there we go, got them nicely blended in. So now I think I'll put them back on the bike and we'll get everything assembled with the handlebars on. Right, that's it, I've put them in place and everything seems fine. So nice and neat down here, the clock's going to be sitting in front of that. Cables will be routed under the tank. I've connected the brake up as well, so the brake lever is now working. And if you see on the master cylinder, we can see that operating that, and we've still got plenty of adjustment on here. Well, we're getting one step closer to completion. I think next time I'll connect up the rest of the cables, the accelerator and the clutch cable, and then might be able to run it again. So I'm calling it a day for now. So thanks for watching again everyone. Until I see you again next time, stay safe.